Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll continue our reading from Canto 7, The Science of God, chapter number 8. We'll read today from the Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhaite girim yat kripatamam vante shigrum deen talinam parmananda madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Lord Nrsingadev slays the demon king. Arguments Prahlad's arguments gradually convinced the Daitya children, and they followed his directions despite their teacher's instructions to the contrary. Shanda and Amark became alarmed. What would Hiranyakashipu say? All their students were becoming devotees of Vishnu, his sworn enemy. They had better tell him. Taking Prahlad with them, they went to see Hiranyakashipu with folded palms and bowed heads. They timidly described the situation. We did all we could to teach them otherwise, great king, but your son has convinced them to worship Vishnu. Vishnu? Hiranyakashipu shook with fury. He hissed like a trampled snake and glared at Prahlad, who stood peacefully before him. The demon king yelled at him in a booming voice, You most insolent, unintelligent disruptor of your family, lowest of humanity, you have violated my authority and are therefore an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the death's abode. The demon declared that even the gods feared him. By whose power have you become so impudent to overstep my rule? Prahlad tried his best to reason with his father. The source of my power is also the source of yours, father. Indeed, he is the source of everyone's strength. The power of the senses, mind, and body depends upon him. He creates, controls, and annihilates the cosmos. Prahlad sincerely desired his father's welfare, and he endeavored to convince him of his greatest benefit. Dear father, there is no need to distinguish between friend and enemy. We will be happier if we can be serene toward all. Other than the uncontrolled mind, there is no enemy in this world. The whole assembly, including Hiranyakashipu, listened in stunned silence. No one had ever dared to speak to Hiranyakashipu in this way. With great love, devoid of fear, Prahlad was instructing his father, who could not brook even the slightest challenge to his authority. Dear father, many have vainly tried to become lords of this world, but ultimately they were defeated by eternal time. Give up this foolish attempt. Instead of conquering others, conquer the enemies within yourself: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. One who has subjugated these 6 enemies and is equipoised toward all living entities has no other enemy. Only due to ignorance do you think otherwise. Hiranyakashipu looked like a volcano about to erupt. Every vein on his face and neck bulged. His face turned a deep crimson, and hate filled his bloodshot eyes. It seemed fire and smoke were emanating from the nostrils and ears. Suddenly he leapt from his throne, drew his sword, and rapidly bearing down on his small son, he bellowed, How dare you speak like that to me? Do you think you are better at controlling your senses than I? It seems you desire death at my hands. Grabbing the child by the throat, he hoisted him to the face level and yelled into his face, Most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described a supreme being other than me. A being above everything who controls everyone and who is all pervading. What complete nonsense. I shall cut off your head. Can your Vishnu save you now? Is he here? Barely able to breathe, Prahlad whispered, Yes, father, he is here. Filled with fury and exasperation at his son's stubbornness, Hiranyakashipu shook the small child. Where is he? Let me see him save you, he screamed, almost hysterically. He pointed to a vast pillar that stretched up to the roof of his palace. Why do I not see him in this pillar? Is he there? Is he? Answer me, you brat. Prahlad looked to the pillar. Yes, father. Hiranyakashipu flung his son down and, turning on the pillar with his raised sword, screamed, Then I will kill him. Hiranyakashipu swung his enormous fist and struck the pillar with a tremendous blow. The great column shook, emitting a fearful sound that seemed to crack that covering of the universe. Right up to the Brahmas aboard, the gods in the heavenly planets, trembled with fear on hearing that sound, thinking their worlds would be destroyed. The sound enveloped Hiranyakashipu's court, striking fear in his followers' hearts. The pillar burst asunder, and a colossal being emerged who appeared to touch the sky. He had a man's torso and a lion's head. The fantastic creature was highly muscular with a short neck and thousands of arms at the end of which extended long lion-like claws. Hiranyakashipu gaped at the astonishing man-animal. What is this? As the demon looked on in awe, the lion-headed creature shook his magnificent mane and gave forth a deafening roar. His eyes blazed in anger and he resembled molten gold. His razor-like tongue darted out between rows of terrible-looking teeth. His ears stood erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth looked like mountain caves. With his thousands of arms, he immediately began killing the demon forces. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, "This must be Vishnu. Who else has such mystic power? So he thinks he can kill me. We'll see about that." The gods marveled at Vishnu's half-man, half-lion form. "Glories to you, Lord Nrsimhadev," they called out in unison. The demon raised his club and rushed at his terrific assailant. Like an insect entering fire, the Hiranyakashipu, the personification of darkness, vanished into his brilliant effulgence. The demon wielded his mighty club and pounded his foe with all his might. It did not move Nrsimhadev in the least. He roared and seized the demon along with his club as Garuda would capture a snake. As Garuda sometimes plays with a snake and lets it slip from his mouth, Nrsimhadev allowed Hiranyakashipu to slip from his hand. The gods became fearful and hid behind the clouds. They cried out, "This demon has already taken our homes. Now he will surely kill us if he lives." Hiranyakashipu gazed at his fearsome opponent from whom he had somehow escaped. It seemed Vishnu, if indeed this was he, was not all-powerful. Perhaps he had released him out of fear. Briefly, the demon leaned against the palace walls, breathing deeply to regain his energy. Then he drew his sword, raising his shield, and with renewed force attacked Nrsimhadev. He charged the Lord with the speed of a hawk, sometimes approaching him from the sky, sometimes on the ground, ever careful to protect himself with the sword and shield. Nrsimhadev let out a shrill laugh, making Hiranyakashipu close his eyes out of fear. Nrsimhadev reached out and with lightning speed and again seized Hiranyakashipu. The gods cheered. "Just see how the Lord has captured this demon, just as a snake seizes the mouse, or Garuda a venomous snake." They slapped each other's backs in a mood of celebration. Even Indra's thunderbolt could not defeat this demon, but see how Nrsimhadev subdues him. They watched in wonder as the demon writhed this way and that with all his might, but still could not escape Nrsimhadev's vice-like grip. The Lord sat down in the palace's doorway and placed the thrashing demon on his lap. He ripped out Hiranyakashipu's entrails with his awful curved claws and draped him around his neck. Nrsimhadev's mane and face became splattered with demon's blood. No one could look at his fierce eyes, which burned with terrible anger. Licking the corners of his mouth with his tongue, he looked like a lion who had just slain an elephant. He tore out Hiranyakashipu's heart and threw aside his bloodied corpse. Licensed by their master's death, thousands of demon soldiers raised their weapons and, shouting out their war cries, attacked Nrsimhadev. He lashed out with his many arms and disposed of the soldiers merely with the ends of his sharp nails. His mane shook violently, scattering the clouds and hurling the gods' aeroplanes into outer space. The brightness of the sky and all directions was dimmed by the glare emanating from his eyes. All the oceans became agitated with his heavy breathing, and elephants everywhere cried in fear at hearing his roars. His feet pressed down so heavily that the earth planet appeared to slip from its orbit, and hills and mountains sprang up. A brilliant effulgence emitted from Nrisingadev's fearsome countenance. He glanced angrily this way and that to see who would challenge him. No one dared. Even the gods stood nervously at a distance with bowed head as Nrisingadev ascended Hiranyakashipu's splendid throne. Their wives danced with joy and showered Nrisingadev with flowers from the sky. They called out, "Thank you, Lord, for saving us from this demon." He was like a fever of meningitis in the head of the three worlds. Other celestials crowded the sky with their aeroplanes to see the Lord. They beat drums and kettle drums. Apsaras danced and Gandharvas sang sweetly. Nrisingadev shook his fearful mane and rode ferociously, his anger unabated. Anxious to appease him, the gods, headed by Brahma and Shiva, the celestial sages, and other heavenly inhabitants, and Vishnu's personal servants like Sunanda and Kumuda, offered praise to Nrisingadev, who glowed with intense light. Brahma prayed, "My dear Lord, you possess unlimited potencies. No one can understand your pastimes, nor can anyone estimate your greatness. Although you create, maintain, and destroy the material cosmos, you remain unchanged." Nrisingadev tossed his head and rode. Startled, Brahma and other celestials took a few steps back. It sounded like a great earthquake. Shiva alone remained unperturbed. "My dear Lord, everyone here is frightened. They think your anger will destroy the universe. Please put aside your displeasure until the appointed time for the universal dissolution. Then I, into whom you have expanded to express your anger, will destroy everything." "Today I show my rage out of affection for my devotee," replied Nrisingadev. Shiva indicated Prahlad, who could just be seen behind other celestials. "Yes, my lord, you are famed for your affection for your devotees. There is Prahlad, your fully surrendered devotee, whom you have come to protect, just like an affectionate father." Nrisingadev glanced lovingly at Prahlad. He said in rumbling voice, "Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all." The gods hung their heads in shame. Unlike Prahlad, when faced with severe persecution at Hiranyakashipu's hands, they could not keep their minds fixed on Narayan. His heart filled with remorse, Indra edged forward. "O powerful Lord of Lords, even though you protect and deliver everyone who takes shelter of you, I have failed to keep my mind fixed on you because I was preoccupied with the fear of this demon Hiranyakashipu. I was always lamenting that he stole our share of sacrificial offerings from us, but I now realize that all these offerings belong to you. Now you have recovered all that is rightfully yours. You have also reclaimed your place in our hearts, which were previously filled with fear of Hiranyakashipu." Nrisingadev growled, "Indra, as my devotee, you may continue in your post as the king of heaven." A tear escaped Indra's eyes and he lowered his head in a mood of humility. "I'm grateful that you accept me as your devotee, Lord. I only lament that material desires fill my heart, and thus there is no room for genuine devotion for you. Thus I am only qualified to accept your worldly blessings. Real devotees like Prahlad, who have no material desires, do not care for high posts, followers, wealth, mystic powers, or even for liberation." Remembering Prahlad's persecution, Nrisingadev again rode fiercely. The sage cried out, "All glories to you, the original person, the supreme protector and shelter of all." Nrisingadev swung his head toward them. The sages trembled with fear as they prayed. "You have instructed all beings how to perform the supreme asceticism, meditating on your powerful form. By the power of this austerity, you manifested the universe. Previously merged in you, Hiranyakashipu had practically stopped this meditation, but you have killed him to protect us and revive this practice." Nrisingadev's eyes rolled, and again he tossed his head, emitting a deafening roar. Everyone jumped back. They had never seen Vishnu so angry. In whispers, they urged each other to calm him somehow. The Pitris then tried. "O Lord," they prayed, "maintainer of the universe, for a long time we have been fasting because of this demon consumed all the food and water that our descendants offer for our benefit. While killing him, you pierced his abdomen with your nails, and retrieved that which he stole from us. We therefore offer you our repeated respectful obeisances. Still, Nrsingadev let out a low thunderous roar, his eyes red with anger. The Siddhas stepped forward, their heads bowed. Lord, dear Lord, the residents of our planets have always displayed full prowess in all the 8 mystic powers. This demon stole our powers from us to increase his mystic strength. Now you have killed him. We feel relieved and we offer our respectful obeisances. Obeisance, Nrsingadev gnashed his teeth and clawed the air. The Siddhas fell back into the throng of celestials. The Vidyadhars then tried to appease him. O Lord, this evil demon banned the use of any power we attained by meditation. Thankfully, you have killed him like the animal he was. We offer you our eternal gratitude and obeisance. Nrsingadev flicked his mane and rode yet again. The Vidyadhars dropped back and hid behind the Nagas. Finding themselves at the forefront of the gods, the Nagas did their best to mollify Vishnu. We celestial serpents suffered terribly at this demon's hands. He stole our wealth and spouses. Now you have killed him, and our wives can happily return home. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Nrsingadev continued to roar, his eyes spanning the many celestials present. Brahma noticed his gaze lingered on the Manus, and he urged them to soothe the Lord. They folded their hands and said, "Oh dear Lord, you have delegated us Manus to govern human society according to your system of varnashrama. During the temporary period of this demon's superiority, he stopped everyone from following that divine order. Now you have killed him. We can again carry out your will, accepting us as your eternal servants. Kindly command us." Still, Nrsingadev's fury raged. The Prajapatis then offered their prayers. O Supreme Lord, you are greater than even Brahma or Shiva. You created us to generate good progeny. But this demon forcibly stopped us. Thankfully, he is now killed by you, the form of pure goodness, who has appeared to benefit the entire universe. Please accept our most respectful obeisance. Gandharvas tried next. Our specific service is to glorify you through songs and dance. This upstart Hiranyakashipu made us entertain him. Now you have defeated him and showed that those who oppose you must ultimately fail in their endeavors. The Charans also ventured forward. O Lord, this Hiranyakashipu was a source of torment to us. We lived in constant fear of him. Now he is dead. We are relieved of our anxiety. Thus we eternally take shelter of you. For you deliver conditioned souls from the perplexities of material existence. The Yakshas then came forward and made their obeisance. O Lord, you are the 25th element, the super soul who controls all the other elements of material existence. We are considered the best of your servants because we act only for your pleasure. This demon, however, obliged us to become his palanquin carriers. Thankfully, you killed him, and everyone is relieved that demon's body is returning to the elements from which it came. Nrsingadev still seemed unappeased. Each group of celestials tried to assuage him. The Kimpurushas approached with lowered heads and hands clasped in prayer. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, and we are insignificant living entities. How then can we suitably glorify you? You killed this demon because he disturbed your devotees. The residents of Vetalika said, "Dear Lord, we are highly regarded because we recite your glories in religious assemblies. By stopping all sacred rituals, this demon robbed us of our respectability. To our great relief, you have destroyed him just as physicians put an end to one's disease." The Kinnar said, "O Supreme Controller, we are also your servants, but this demon forced us to serve him instead. He obliged us to work constantly and without remuneration. We too are relieved that you have killed him. We offer you our respectful obeisance and beg to remain forever under your protection." Nrsingadev gazed around and with crimson eyes, emitting occasional roars. Finally, Sunanda and Kumuda and Vishnu's other associates from Vaikuntha tried to calm him. O Supreme Lord, you are the shelter of everyone, including the residents of Vaikuntha. This demon is your eternal servant Jayad, here to assist you in your pastimes. When the four Kumars cursed him to take birth in the material world, you advised him to come as your enemy. We know that by killing him, you have shown him special mercy. So we'll continue with chapter 9 next time, which will be Prahlad pacifies Nrsingadev. Thank you for joining. Hariom Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.